Welcome to Lifting the Line, a construction contracting podcast.
I have a special guest. Her name is Leah Grant. Our podcast is called Lifting the Line, and it's a building and industry podcast. So really the sky's the limit when it comes to talking about what we do. Andy, you're from Brickies Network, so you're also here to chime in, ask questions, add to the conversation.
I'm just going to weigh in whenever I feel it suits.
Okie dokie. So, first of all, I just want to say welcome, Leah, to coming. And it's really funny, isn't it,
Thank
to
you.
be here?
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. This is really special.
Yeah, okay. So, just to say a bit about you, you are a street artist and you've been working for some time under that banner as a street artist. I know you started off in graphics design and you've done a whole range of other things. So what we thought when we thought, building and construction, street art works. It applies because it's part of the urban landscape, isn't it? Thinking about how things look. And so how'd you get into it? How'd you get into street art?
Yeah, I think lots of different things have led me to where I am now. But I think the main thing was there was an interest, and I was interested in graffiti, in street art, but I felt that my own morals didn't line up with going out and practicing and tagging trains. So I didn't think I could do it. But I moved to Adelaide and I sort of had this clean slate where no one knew me, and it didn't matter if I failed because no one knew me, and I gave it a shot. And I applied for some council grants. I actually got my first public art sort of exhibition, which was a display of light boxes in a laneway that changes over every 6 months. And that was my first little, just dipping my toe in the water. And then from there, I was able to get a mentorship with an artist in Adelaide who was painting a mural for council. And he was teaching me basically how to paint in his style and helping paint. And then through that mentorship, he was giving me advice of how I could transfer my skills and style of what I'd done on canvas to a wall, to an outdoor surface, to, an 8-metre high building. And it just, one job has led to the next. And yeah, it's quite organic because it's almost like a billboard for your business. Like for my artwork, it's on a external wall. So a lot of work comes through people seeing that and then going, hey, I saw what you painted on this street. We've got a wall. Would you be interested?
Yeah. I guess the potential of a blank wall. You're the kind of person who sees a wall and there's nothing on it, but you're just straight away can picture something that can be there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm very tactile. Like I want to touch the wall. I want to see what's around the wall. One thing that I've learnt through painting and installing a mural is you've got to design it around what's already in that urban environment. So is there a window? Is there a tree nearby? Is there a park? Is there a flower bed? Or that can all inspire the design but also contribute to where you put the focal point and how it's viewed as well. Yeah.
I think laneways are typically where a lot of street art goes because they can be dreary. And, you want to lift that scene up. So I suppose the history of where street art has come from has kind of come from like those secret places or like more discreet places, but bringing it in as like murals and design and more contemporary street, because what did you called it public art space type stuff. So like, have you seen actually public art become more significant? It really has grown, hasn't it, in the last what do you think, 10, 20
a shift?
Years, or?
I think so. I think when I was at high school, we were learning that it was vandalism and it was illegal and it was wrong, but it still had an art form to it. And so that's what we were studying. And councils hated it because they had to spend money on fixing it and removing graffiti. And now my biggest client is council, and I get so much of my work through working alongside council and reimagining a space and making it a landmark, making it a space where it actually painting a wall can change the safety of that area, of that laneway. So there's so much benefit to the community. It can bring culture, it can bring connection, it can, it should delight and surprise. It should have all those fundamentals of where street art has come from in transforming a space and having a message. But it also can is now valued and seen that it's important for a city, for a town.
So, yeah, I mean, vandalism is always kind of going to exist, but I know when you have more public art and maybe even more street art, it lowers the graffiti that happens in that space. So
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen that in your industry?
I don't know if I've seen it in my industry, but it's actually something when you're saying that, I'm just thinking about like, yeah, actually, when you do see street art and someone's put a lot of work into, whether it's funded by council or it's a private venture or something like, very rarely do you see someone tagging over that. It's like maybe the graffiti artist respects the other artist and doesn't do it. I don't know, yeah.
You have had that hope and hope, though.
You've I've had my work tagged.
Yeah.
And so it generally, and I can't speak for every suburb, but my experience, because the last 10 years I've been working in Adelaide, my experience there is that it's very respectful. And once you've installed a mural, I've found it lasts quite a long time. At the end of the day, street art is temporal, and that's what part of the fun and excitement is. You can't actually fully protect them because they're out in the elements, in the wind and the rain. Like paint only lasts so long. Like you basically, even with the best paints, high quality, it's 10 years.
Yep.
And you can't guarantee that building owner is not going to paint over it or someone's going to tag it. And a couple of mine have been tagged, and in those instances, it's either had an anti-graffiti coating on it, and so it's very easy to wash it down, and that can be an investment that the council or building owner puts on after I paint the wall. And then some of them, the clients just got me back to fix it, and that's easy, like a half a day fixing up the mural, going over the tag. I just did one in Prospect in Adelaide. I was back there for a project, and the public art officer, Ed James, he reached out to me and said, while you're here, someone's tagged your mural that you did for us. Could you spend some time fixing that up? And it was like basically these two pink leaves. Someone had written their name across it. They tried to wipe it off, but because the surface was textured, the black was still like, you could still read it. So I just repainted those two leaves and fixed it all up. And often I find I just do a couple of refinements to my design as well because I have a little bit more time to fix things up and and it's all better.
So what's the biggest project you've done or the biggest wall or,
Yeah, would be the one that I just finished in Croydon in South Australia. It's 8 metres high by, how long is it? It was done in two parts. So I painted half the factory in 2021 and that was about 30 metres long, maybe more. And then this year, me and another artist painted the other sides of the factory. I'm using my hands and I know this is a podcast, but basically we continued that design and then painted around the corner of that building as well. And that was another 8 metres up by over 40 metres long. So big one.
8 metres high is huge. Do you do that out of like a scissor lift or a cherry picker or do you set up scaffold? Like but even more so, I'm trying to think, how do you take a picture that's this big in your mind, maybe a metre by a metre, and make it 8 metres high by 30 metres long? How do you turn something small in your mind to something massive? I don't work that.
That's my favourite bit. That's playing with scale, and that the impact that colour can have when you go big on a wall. That just is so exciting to me. I often use a scissor lift. That's what I've got a scissor lift license, and a lot of artists use a boom lift. I haven't done my extra qualification yet on the boom lift because it makes me a little bit nervous. You've got that sway a bit more in a boom lift. But next wall that I need a boom for, I'll probably get an assistant in to help me out with that or do a collaboration. The artist I was working with in Croydon, Jack Fran, he has his boom lift and has done much higher walls like silos and everything with that. And it depends on the accessibility of what's on the ground. So if you've got a flat surface, then you can park a diesel scissor lift it can still stabilize it, but it can only go forward and back. You can't move it around like the flexibility of a boom. And I've got a scaffold too. So depending on the project, I'll use a scaffold. I did a project recently in Geelong, and that was just over 5 meters. So it was a little bit high for just a ladder. So I used a scaffold for that. And there's a bit more involved with the setup, pack up and, permits to block off the footpath and things like that. But the scaffold's quite good because you've got it's better, safer than a ladder. And, you can just a bit more climbing up and down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So does that mean, apart from all the machinery and everything and then the art and the design part of it, you're working with the building owner, the permits is something that you have to apply for when you do it, or, it's part of, comes under your umbrella of?
It really does vary from project to project. So sometimes it's run by council, so it might be funded by council, and then you've got such a close relationship with them. They're the ones providing the permit. So depending on what's set up in the contract before you start working, they might be putting in that paperwork and I'm signing it, or I might have to process all of that. And, you've also got to think about the traffic and the cones and the safety around the pedestrians, or whether you're blocking off streets and what that involves as well.
You were telling me, because I came down and visited you at one of your walls, and 40-degree day. You were telling me you're tipping buckets of water on you and you had to cool down. And then the next day it was like
pouring.
Thunderstorms and bucketing down in rain. And
welcome to working outside, ladies.
I know. Can you tell me any secrets to the construction industry? Because I'm a precious artist who likes to work in my studio, and then all of a sudden I'm out in the elements. And how do you cool down? How do you stay dry? What do you do?
You just got to adapt. You got to adapt to the conditions. But in Victoria, especially, it could be 40 degrees one day and then 14 degrees the next day and raining. That's how it is. That's what it's like working outside. That's what bricklayers deal with every day. They're hardly ever working inside. They're always outside. So you have to find strategies and procedures to get you through it, whether you're putting up tarps to keep the sun off you or keep the rain off you, or got a jacket on, just you're doing what you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've seen you talk about prepping walls, and you've painted on different surfaces. You actually do some teaching around how to do a corrugated iron, which I still can't figure out how to paint lines that look straight on a wobbly, wavy sort of surface. Yeah, what's it like, surfaces to navigate in that sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a big part of the design, is thinking about what am I actually painting on and what kind of design can I install on that wall. So the surface definitely plays a big part, and even before you're coming up with the design, you're quoting accordingly to what is the surface that I'm painting on, because a bumpy surface takes longer. It's going to be more cutting in, like where you paint a shape and then you come back with the other colour behind it to sharpen up that line or that corner. And so there is more work involved in a corrugated wall. And I'll also go bigger and bolder with the design on a bumpy surface, because you've got
it's more forgiving.
It's more, well, it's not more forgiving, but it is. It's already busy because you've got all these shadows. So I find something that with a lot of detail is going to be like overwhelming, and you're not going to be able to see it on a really corrugated surface. And then on a smooth wall, it's like, oh, well, I can draw anything because it's so smooth. Like you can do heaps of intricate detail, and it's still got that contrast enough that you're not sort of getting the busyness.
You get clients who just want like a wall in their backyard, which I would love a wall done in my backyard. I've seen that you've done that, but then you've done schools, and you've also done like bigger projects that are public spaces in suburbs. Have you been approached by architects or anyone who wants to incorporate it in their design for a bigger project that's going on, and they're like, let's put some art in there? Or
not specifically architects yet, but I came through a client. I did a house in Adelaide, in St. Peter's. It's a beautiful area of Adelaide, and the house is actually totally like, it's a historic house, and they're totally changing the inside and then doing a full extension. And so the architect was very much involved in the whole building project. I personally worked closest with the client, so the lady that was from the family who was doing the build. and also the construction company who was fitting it all out. So I was on site while they were all, the tiler was there doing the bathroom, and I was painting the kids' bedrooms. So it was a really exciting project to kind of get a little insight into that building industry, and they were interested in what I was doing and how I was painting the walls, and I was interested in what they were doing because this client was not afraid of colour, and it was so fun to see her choices. And even, the tiler was telling me, like, I've never had this combination before. Like, this is so different. There's patterns and colour. Like the sink had reds in it, and then the tiles had yellows and pinks and blues. Like, it's like really, really fun and a different design, and the kind of project where she wasn't really thinking about money at all. It was really about the end product and how it fitted with their family. Keep an eye on Grand Designs because it should drop this year. Really? I was working with this lady her project is going to be on Grand Designs, and I got to paint both her daughters' bedrooms. Yeah, it was really cool.
It's actually really cool because, like, a lot of clients that are building houses, especially new houses, they're not very imaginative or bold with colour. And you said something there that sparked with me is that when you're a tradesman, it can be really boring just doing the same thing over and over again. And that if there was a tiler that had to do all sorts of different colours and had a really different design in that would have invigorated him for probably another 6 months to actually, I love this trade, because it can get so boring doing the same thing over and over again, especially in bricks. You can just be caught up with, I'm just laying one brick on top of two all the time, and it can get a little bit mundane. But if you get someone that actually can see what you can actually do with the product, can just excite you.
It's the best. It's the best client, isn't it?
Yep.
And she didn't only have like a lot of openness to the design, but she was also very trusting. And I saw her like in her relationship working with me. She'd seen what I'd done before, and just that open brief of like, here's what I like, but you're the artist. I'm going to trust you to come up with something that's going to work for my daughters. And and I could see her doing that the same because they were at the same time they were filling in had a pool that they were tiling, and they were fitting all of that out. And then there was guys working in the mud kitchen. Not mud kitchen, it was like the mud
room.
Mud room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were doing the flooring there and stuff. Yeah. And it was a very I haven't had a lot of experience in construction industries, but just from the conversations that we had, we were all very happy to work for this client. Yeah, and the architect involved. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the most satisfying projects to work on is when the client goes, this is what I've picked and you're the tradesman we've chosen to do it. So we're going to let you go with your skill and deliver
not being micromanaging, but really you could see that she was excited by the project. Like she dropped in to see the process of the wall being painted, and like almost every day after work she'd drop into the building site just to see what had been done, and really just excited and positive about it. So you notice those clients, they really do stand out as the ones that you want more of.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bravery, have you come across that with jobs when you come across a client who, maybe money's not an issue, want to be really brave with something and do a different kind of design or a different kind of brickwork?
Yeah, absolutely. So I reckon probably 15 years ago, I reckon it was. I can't tell you the exact year, but
time date.
Yeah, time date. We had a particular build where this client had decided they'd wanted a replica of an older architect style home. So it was a Coburn style home, which are really, really popular. They were an architect in the 30s, the 30s and 40s across country Victoria, and there was a lot of them around the Ballarat area. And he decided he wanted this particular style of home, and he said, my wife's picked the inside of the house, but I've got the outside, and this is the style I want. And a lot of arches, a lot of bands, cream brick with like a red cobbly sort of band or a clinker brick band, which was really exciting for me. And he just said, "No, you go ahead and you make this. This is the concept. There's the architect's plans. Obviously, it was drawn by another architect, but you go and put your flair on it and put your skill into all of these things. And it was just so freeing.
What's a clinker brick?
Clinker brick's it's like a brick that's been over-fired a little bit and it'll have a bulge sticking out of it or a real sort of fleck of burn in the middle, or it sort of opens up and, it's just a sort of a style of brick.
It sounds like a brick you wouldn't paint over because it's got some characteristics.
Oh, well, there's probably plenty of – so from my understanding, originally how clinker brick sort of came into it in the early days of brickwork when they went to being more hard-fired, they were the ones that exploded or a bit blew out on the side of it in the kiln, and they were a waste. They used to throw them away and throw them back in the pit or crush them back up and maybe use them later on. But then they got dug up out of pits and used in houses, or they were the cheap brick that you could use. So clinkers were quite possible. But they had, if you were using a cream brick and then you had these red bricks that had a real black flare in the middle with a bulge, they could be a nice feature, especially if you put them in a band or the actual arch was the dark and then the cream would go everywhere, and it'd have some texture in the sense that the arch would be protruding 20 or 30 mil or an inch back then, I suppose it would have been. So gave you those different dimensions when you looked at it from different angles.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Do you paint on brick walls?
I love brick. We can just talk about this for a while. But can I just go back to making an arch, because I love brick arches and I love the way it will frame a space.
Yep.
How much more work is involved in doing an arch than a straight?
There is a fair bit more work in doing an arch, just because it's the structural part that holds up whatever's above it.
Yeah.
So, like arches, you look back hundreds of years, you had big arches on bridges, you had big arches on buildings, or you had these big flying buttresses with arches on old churches. They were all there for a structural reason, because we didn't have steel. You couldn't have timber that spanned big areas that were going to last for hundreds of years outside. You needed something that would hold an opening to put the weight above it. So that's why arches are there. They're there to be completely structural. So there's a bit of work involved to get them there, but once they're there, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, love arches. And brick in general is my absolute favourite surface to paint on. If a client comes to me and says, I've got a brick wall, I'm like, yes, okay, I'll quote it tomorrow. Like, let's make this happen. It provides an extra layer of texture to the final design. I think it has a closer connection to where street art has come from that laneways that you were mentioning, Ali. Like it just has more of an external street art feel. So the family that I was painting for, their kids' bedrooms, often an internal wall can just have a different mural feel than an outside spray painted wall. But their internal wall was brick. So they'd actually designed the wall to have more of a street art feel, and then I painted on top of the brick. But most of my work is external on any sort of surface that the client has an idea for.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's corrugated, like an old shed feel. Sometimes it's a fence. A lot of the time I work with schools, and it's working with the art teacher and the students to come up with a concept. And you've got to look around the school and go, well, what's the best surface for us to paint on? And it's not always the smoothest surface, but I always do encourage the brick surface, and you've even got a grid with brick. Like it gives you
something to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're like, I want to find the middle of the wall, it's like, I'll just count the bricks. Like it's already giving you something to sort of map out your design and everything as well.
Because a lot of street artists do the Renaissance brick scale format to actually, and when you've got a brick wall, you've already got it gridded up.
Yeah, it's generally, I think you brought this up before about upscaling your work. It's generally not like a grid method. It's this process called this doodle grid. Have you heard of this term before? So if you YouTube doodle grid, it actually came from Roan, the artist, who his work is like known very much around Geelong. He came from Geelong, and his work I would describe as realistic portraits, stunning work. And one of the artists that he knows how to work with the space. He'll often use the existing architecture of a wall that's falling apart and work that into the design of a woman's face. Or really, really skilled. So he came up with this this term, but also this process of scribbling on a wall where you've got all these different symbols. So you might have an @ symbol and a star and a a little tag.
I've actually seen
So you've
this.
seen the
I
scribble.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Take a photo of that. So you scribble all over the wall, take a photo, and then you use that photo as an overlay onto your design, and that's your reference. Rather than this grid, because when you're up close,
it allows
looser,
for flexibility, maybe.
but it's actually, I don't really reckon it's the flexibility. I think it's more that when you're so close to a wall up on a scissor, you don't know what box you're up to if you've got a grid. And it's going to take you a lot longer to draw a grid with straight lines than it is to squiggle all over a wall. Plus, when you've got that reference point of, okay, so the nose is here where the star is and then it ends where the window is. So you've up close, you can see your perspective better. Does that make any sense? Because it's very visual.
No, it does, because I can imagine, like, it sort of keeps it in the right dimension.
Yes.
That's probably what I'm thinking. Like, if you're in a grid, if you got one grid off, it would just look weird. But if you've just got a few reference points and then you've overlaid that over a picture, well, then you can still have the freedom to be creative, keeping it within the right scale and the dimension. That's what I'm imagining.
And you build it up with layers as well. So the squiggle grid gives you a reference point, then you do your outline, and then you bring in your detail. And all through my process of painting, I'm always making mistakes. And then I step back or I take a photo and my brain can go, that's what I need to fix. I'll draw on my phone and go back up the scissor and adjust and refine and cut back in. Yeah, that's a big part of the process. And at the same time, you've got the public watching you do that. And it's a very, like, you've got to be quite comfortable in that space of, like,
how do you feel when people are taking photos of you while you're doing your artwork or wanting to talk to you, or
it's one of the best parts of it and also one of the most intimidating parts of it as well. It can be like where your next project comes from, the next person that walks along and says, I love this, could you come and paint my wall? So I always want to give people the time of day and chat about, if someone's interested in public art, I do want to chat to them. And being also aware that I'm on a time frame and I've got to get this wall completed, so I can't always give everyone the time that they're requesting. It's one of those projects that, if you're out on a building site, you often would have it all fenced off and, like, not accessible, whereas for some reason when you're an artist, people assume that you're accessible and can step over the bunting that you've got sectioned off, and it sort of makes me a little bit nervous. I'm like, actually it's not safe for your daughter to come into here where I could potentially drop a can and knock them on the head. So just safety has to come into it when I'm chatting with people, and also what time do I have and of the day. Like, I'm working towards daylight, and on a 40-degree day, I've just got to keep painting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're touching on, so that's what it's like running a business. You're always I'm thinking as a business structure, because it is a business that you do. It has to be profitable when you do a project, or it's not worth doing. But I'm thinking, like, your end product is an advertisement for your business. And that's what it's like when you're running a trade business. But when you go to, say, tender for a project like that or quote a project like that, how do you think about that? Like, because like you said, you're up and down. You might have to get up 10 times instead of just being up there the once. Well, that takes more time and it's going to cost more. How do you go about quoting a project like that to make sure that that you get to be creative and you get to the end result, but it is going to pay you to do that? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's allowing space for a contingency in that quote. So allowing for what happens if we have a whole day of pouring down rain and I can't paint, and I can't work that day, and you've paid for the scissor lift hire and everything. So having a bit of a buffer in the budget. Also, in terms of my creative space, I've learnt that I have to switch off my business mind when I'm on site in the way that I have to let myself be creative, I put that pressure on me, or like you're only allowed to get up and down that scissor lift twice today, it won't be a good outcome. Like that will be too much. I have to be an artist and be experimenting and practicing. Like, for example, the wall I just finished in Croydon with Jack Fran, it was 2 separate walls that we connected together at the corner and had our designs overlapping. And we tried a completely new style for both of us. And in one section where we used a Graco spray gun and did a whole like real large scale gradient with pinks and yellows and oranges all overlapping. And it's like you're spray painting a gradient but on a huge scale. Like I've painted like that with a small spray, like a normal spray can, but never with a spray gun. Like, can you picture like how fun that is? Like you've got liters of paint just spraying onto a wall and then you're mixing those colours together. So we hadn't painted like that before. We didn't know how long that was going to take us. We had to allow for whatever happens today is progress because we're working this out. And both of us, I feel, learn a lot that day. And then we were chatting the next day about, next time we do this again, this is what I'd do. And we'd have the colours pre-mixed because we were mixing them on the spot and making a huge mess on the scissor and, all those things that we were like, this is what we do next time. And, I reckon we could try this. And it was just that collaboration there has to be room for that. There has to be time for that. There has to be money allowed for that time to happen.
Yep.
And that's where you get the best results and the new ideas come and the enthusiasm. You know how you were talking about doing the same thing over and over again can happen like that with my art because I get people saying, I like what you painted there. Can you paint it again? Like, oh, really? Like, I really want to do something different. Yeah, you can't just sit in that same space. You always got to be experimenting and trying something new and then I'll reflect on the project and for the next project I'll try and go, I probably, blew out the budget here a bit because I chatted to every single person that stopped by and, but you sort of have to reflect and go, okay, maybe I need more time when it's such a public space because that wall that we were painting is one of the busiest roads in Croydon. It's got cafes all along there next to a traffic light. We had cars stopping regularly to roll down their windows and say, great job, guys. And so this is how much interaction there was. Yeah, right. It was like a big time sucker, but fun. Makes it fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just constantly reflecting on what was involved in the last project, how much extra time did that take, or yes, I could get that done because those weren't distracted. Everything was a little bit different, yeah. And of course, you're not usually probably in a situation where you're getting squeezed on your price because it's allocated a certain amount of hours. You're pricing for the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and
sometimes the budget's set and then I've got to work within that. So sometimes it's in reverse. If it's an expression of interest that the council has put out, we have a wall, we have a concept, like not a concept, but a brief for you to fulfill, and then I'm applying for it. It might be 10 grand for this wall, and I've got to go, okay, so what can I paint within that budget, with that size wall, with the equipment that I need, with this kind of design, and I'm trying to, in reverse, like fit my time and materials within their budget. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're a brick wall, it's a shame they painted over it?
Oh, sometimes, but a lot of the time.
Be honest.
No,
don't, because I agree. Like,
sometimes
don't you like?
it depends on the building, and that probably comes down to the architecture of the building. Like if it's got lots of texture involved, as in a pattern's already been laid into it, and there's certain windows that give that sort of building character or that arch, well, then I think that would probably be a shame to paint over it or put a mural on it of some sort. But on the other side, if it's just a big long red brick wall down the side of an old factory that was built in the 50s, then it's not very appealing anyway. You sit there and go,
it's why people
yeah.
tag it, because it's just
yeah,
it's just begging for something on it.
Yeah,
My favourite
exactly
wall
right.
to paint is brick already painted because I have this nervousness. Like I do love brick in its raw form as well, and it's got like history to it. Even unless it's already been tagged a bunch of times,
Yeah.
it's hard to go. Oh, does it need it? Like it does depend on what's around it as well. But yeah, brick it. And when it's already been painted, it's got, painted all white or something, I find it's easier because the prep work's been done for me.
Yeah, it doesn't suck the paint up real quick,
It's
does it?
so absorbent.
Yeah, brick's very porous for moisture. Yeah.
And trying to get into the ground, like as well, like it's sort of, I do find it's easier if it's been painted and then I'm just going over it and I'm less nervous about removing that brick from the environment. Yeah.
Do you prefer it that it's a really perfect brick wall, or do you like it that it's an old wall where some of the joints have been washed away and that creates extra shadows and little things within your work, or do you like it so everything's uniform? It's still got the pattern, but everything's uniform.
Yeah, the deeper mortar takes longer and you can't get as much detail in it, but I have done plenty of walls where it's deeper and more textured. It's just more time consuming usually. In terms of the bumpiness and getting in. I often use, those little yellow stripe rollers. I prefer to use those than a big roller when I'm doing the acrylic background because it gets in, they're a bit fluffier and it really gets into the gaps and on the bumps, and even though it sort of only does 15 centimetres long, I get more paint onto the wall or I spray it. If it's really if it's really bumpy, I'll spray that background primer and acrylic undercoat, like the background colour, because it just gets it on there quicker.
Yeah.
But it's thirsty, and it's like I've got to allow for. I'm going to go through more paint if the brick is raw, because it just sucks it up and needs 3 coats instead of 2. Yeah.
Do you have to seal a brick wall after you've done it?
After it's been built?
Yeah.
No, not generally. Not
So
generally.
you just said yes. When do you seal the brick wall?
Depending on what product it is, you might have to seal it because it might be a really porous brick, or if it's concrete brick or concrete block, if it hasn't got a waterproofing agent in it, then they're more porous, so you might want to seal it. And sometimes you might want to seal it if it's in an area where it is going to get tagged or spray painted, more likely to get done like that. You might want to get a sealer on it because it just makes it easy to get the stuff off. Yeah, absolutely. But generally, no.
And if you were painting a brick wall, what would you prime it with?
Not a painter, so I wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
But I know you'd probably have to get a fair bit of paint into it. You'd probably have to really soak it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found early on I did some projects in schools that were on brick and we didn't put a primer on it, and after a few years it just flakes, it comes off. So it's just a lot more dry, and so cleaning the brick before putting a primer on makes it stick. But it's still brick lasts so much better than painted brick. Painting the brick still has a life on it.
Well, that's the point. That's the point of brick. It's a finished product. You don't have to maintain it or do really anything for it for probably 100 years. It's the most durable building product we have.
Wow.
Every other product that you use on a building, whether it be a cement sheet cladding or a weatherboard or something like that, all of those, they've got ongoing maintenance and sealing. You've got to paint them. You keep looking after them, or the weather gets into them, swells. Bricks, you lay them, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Something else that you also do is clay. You work with clay, and you also work in a pottery studio as well. So some of these conversations around bricks and clay and
kilns.
you understand a lot about that.
And the unexpectedness of you talking about bricks exploding and doing things that you don't know about, like glazing your pottery and everything. There's a lot of experimentation in that, and safety around silica dust and the cleanup of your studio. So I'm very aware that I'm working with aerosol when I paint walls, and I'm working with silica when I'm in the pottery studio, and both are not going to be good for my lungs. So I need to be using masks, and glaze has heaps of silica in it as well. It's really dangerous, all the chemicals in that as well. So, but what's unique about both of them is I find I can be creative in different ways. One is playing with form and shape and design, and there's a lot of overlap with now bringing my colours into the ceramic vessels, forms, and then also playing with scale. So when I'm painting a wall, like I mentioned earlier, I love going big with colour because of the impact that it can have. And then how can I transfer that interest and desire into ceramic forms on the wheel? Yeah.
How many times how often do you work in the studio, in the clay studio?
It does vary. This term I've got 2 classes a week that are like a term class. So they come back for 6 weeks. And then I work on weekends. Yeah, just varies. But so sometimes like 3 times a week. It's a beautiful studio, Elizabeth Bell's ceramic studio in the Finesford Paper Mills, and really unique. You would love it because of the architect. Have you been there, Ellie? How would you describe it?
It's a very impressive place.
Oh, you've been. Yeah,
and it was a paper mill.
Yeah.
It actually made paper. That's where they made paper.
And it's got a whole lot of history in the war as well. They were making ammunition there as well. So it's very unique. The actual studio that I teach in, you're downstairs, and it's like you're in this, you're surrounded by blue stone walls, and then there's a door that goes out onto Buckley's Falls and the river. So it's beautiful for so many reasons. The natural trees around it, but also the building and the structure is stunning.
Yeah, it is.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking it's been lovely to have you, and thank you for sharing all your knowledge around the practice of your public art. It's been lovely to have you. Andy, did you want to ask Leah where we can find her?
Yes. Where can people find you if they want you to come and do some artwork for them?
Yes, get in touch with me. I have a website, leahgrant.com.au, or my Instagram is a great place to see what I've done or what I'm working on at the moment, and that's leah.grant.
And then you've got the Grand Designs episode that's coming out. It's going to be a big shout out to you as well, which is going to be amazing.
It should be this year, so check it out.
Can't wait. Yeah, can't wait. Sounds great.
Thanks.